I still remember the first time I saw that car. A silver 2010 Mustang, battered but proud, rolling into my garage on a Thursday morning. Rain was coming down in sheets outside, thunder grumbling like an old man. I wiped my hands on a rag and stepped forward, expecting another customer with another repair that didn't matter. But when the driver's door opened, my chest went tight. She stepped out, a woman in her mid-30s, dark hair tied back, brown coat soaked through from the storm. She looked tired, but there was a quiet strength in her eyes. "Engine won't start," she said. "It died on the highway." I nodded, forcing a professional smile. "Happens a lot this time of year. I'll take a look." She hesitated, her gaze flicking toward the faded sign over the door. "Frank's Auto Repair. You own this place?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, pretending I didn't notice the tremor in my own voice. 15 years now." 15, she repeated softly. "That's a long time," I shrugged. Time doesn't stop for anyone. She smiled faintly, a polite, distant smile, and stepped back to let me open the hood. But my hands weren't steady. Not because of the car. Because of her. Her name was Lydia, and 15 years ago she was the reason I left everything behind. Back then, I wasn't a mechanic. I was a nobody kid from the wrong side of town, trying to keep up with a girl who had dreams too big for me. Lydia was all sunlight, smart, kind, the kind of person who believed people could change the world if they tried hard enough. I was a street racer. I thought speed could make up for everything else I lacked. But one night my arrogance caught up with me. A late race, a busted tire, a crash that left her little brother injured because I'd taken him along without permission. That night destroyed everything. Lydia stopped calling. Her father pressed charges. And before I knew it, I was gone. 2 years in county jail and a lifetime of guilt that no repair could ever fix. And now she was standing here, in my garage, looking at me like I was just some stranger. I leaned over the hood, pretending to work. The engine wiring was a mess, frayed, corroded, neglected. "You've been driving this thing a while?" I asked. "Since college," she said. "It was my brother's car." The words hit me like a wrench to the ribs. Her brother. I swallowed hard, keeping my eyes on the engine. "How's he doing these days?" She went quiet. Then she said, "He passed away 3 years ago." I froze. My grip on the wrench tightened until my knuckles turned white. She must have seen my reaction because her tone softened. "He was hit by a drunk driver." "Nothing anyone could have done." My mouth was dry. "I'm sorry," I murmured. "Yeah," she whispered. "So am I." For a moment the sound of rain filled the silence between us. Finally, I cleared my throat. "I'll see what I can do about the car. But to be honest, this kind of damage—" I sighed. "I can't fix that." She nodded, stepping toward the counter to fill out a form. Her hands were trembling slightly. "It's okay. I'm used to things not being fixable." I turned back to the car, wanting to say something, anything. But the words just wouldn't come. That's when I noticed it. A small keychain dangling from the ignition. Worn leather, faded edges, but the engraving was still there. To Frank, don't ever stop trying. "Ben." My breath caught. "Ben." Her brother. My vision blurred for a second. I took the keychain gently in my hand, tracing the letters. It was one of the old ones we used to sell after races, souvenirs for the kids who hung around the track. Ben had begged me for one when he was 12. I'd given it to him with a grin. "Keep this," I'd said. "For luck." And now it was back in my hand. "Lydia," I whispered. "Where did you get this?" She turned, her eyes meeting mine. "Ben kept it on his keys. After he died, I couldn't throw it away." "Why?" I stared at the engraving again, my heart pounding. "Because I gave it to him." Her expression froze. The color drained from her face. "You what?" I looked up. 15 years ago. At the track. She took a step back, as if the memory itself burned her. "You're saying you're that Frank?" "I am." Her eyes filled with tears. Not the soft kind, but the kind that carried years of betrayal. "You have no right to say his name," she snapped. "You took him that night. You were supposed to protect him." "I know," I said quietly. "And I've lived with that every single day since." She turned to leave, but I stepped forward. "Lydia, please, let me fix this car. Just the car. I owe you that much." She hesitated. "You can't fix what you broke." "Maybe not," I said, voice trembling. "But I can try." For a long moment she stood there, her jaw tight, eyes glistening. Then finally she nodded once. "Fine, fix the car." And she walked out into the rain, leaving muddy footprints across my floor. That night, I stayed in the shop long after closing. The rain had stopped, but thunder still rolled far away. I sat on the floor beside that Mustang, staring at the keychain hanging from the ignition. It wasn't just a car anymore. It was a confession, a second chance wrapped in guilt and rust. I worked until my hands bled, rewiring, replacing, rebuilding. Every spark felt like a prayer. Every bolt I tightened felt like I was holding something broken together. Not just metal, but time, memory, forgiveness. At some point, I must have fallen asleep on the workbench. When I woke up, sunlight was streaming through the dusty windows. The car gleamed like it hadn't in years. I turned the key. The engine roared to life, strong, alive, ready. For the first time in a long time, so was I. I heard the door open behind me. Lydia stood there, coffee cup in hand, surprise flickering across her face. "It's running," she said softly. "Yeah," I said. "She's tougher than she looks." She set the coffee on the counter. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," I said. "Just listen for a second." She crossed her arms. "Frank, I need you to know I didn't mean for any of it to happen. That night, the crash, I was reckless, but I wasn't cruel. I'd take it back if I could. All of it." Her eyes shimmered again, but she said nothing. I reached into my pocket and held out the keychain. "Ben gave me this before the race. Said it'd keep me safe. Maybe it's time it went home." She stared at it for a long time, her lip trembling. Then she reached out and took it, her fingers brushing mine. For a second, the years disappeared. "I still hate what you did," she whispered. "I do too," I said. "But if there's anything left to fix, tell me how." She looked at me, then at the car. "Drive it to the cemetery," she said softly. "You tell him yourself." I froze when I saw the name engraved on the keychain. Clara. The same looping cursive I'd traced 1,000 times in my head. The name I'd whispered into my empty apartment when I couldn't sleep. The name that used to mean home. My hands went numb. Wrench clattering against the floor. "Everything okay, sir?" the woman asked, peering at me from behind her sunglasses. Her voice, soft, hesitant, hit something deep in my chest. It had been years, but I'd know that tone anywhere. My stomach turned. "Clara," I croaked before I could stop myself. She froze. Slowly, she removed her sunglasses. And there she was. Older, maybe. A few fine lines around her eyes. Her hair a different shade. But the same face that had haunted me for years. "My Clara," her lips parted, trembling. "Daniel?" For a moment, the whole garage seemed to disappear. The noise, the smell, the dust. It all faded until it was just her and me, standing between what was and what could never be again. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. What are you doing here?" She held the keychain like it was a lifeline. "It broke down. The car, I mean. I didn't know this was your shop." I nodded slowly, trying to hide the quake in my voice. I just started here last year. Silence, heavy, awkward. The years between us pressing down like weight. You look different," she said finally, her eyes flicking to the oil stains on my shirt, the gray in my hair. "Yeah," I muttered. "Life's got a way of changing people." She smiled faintly, the kind of sad smile that hides 100 unspoken words. I wanted to ask her everything. Where she'd been, how she'd been, but the questions caught in my throat like gravel. Instead, I turned back to the car. "So what's wrong with it?" She exhaled shakily. "It just stopped running on the highway. Smoke started coming from the hood." I nodded, sliding under the car, anything to avoid her eyes. But every turn of the wrench felt heavier than the last. My hands shook. My chest ached. After a few minutes, I slid out again, wiping sweat from my brow. "It's the fuel pump. Needs replacing. Shouldn't take long." She nodded but didn't leave. She just stood there watching me. Finally, she said softly, "You still have that scar on your hand." I looked down at the faded white mark across my palm. "Yeah, burned it fixing your dad's old Chevy." A tiny laugh escaped her. "I remember." You wouldn't stop cursing. We both smiled then, for the first time in years, and for one dizzy second it felt like nothing had changed. But then I saw it, the gold band glinting on her left hand. Married. The thought hit like a wrench to the gut. I forced a smile, turned back to the car. "Well, I'll have you back on the road soon." She hesitated, then said, "Daniel, wait." I froze. "I didn't know how to find you after you left," she said, her voice trembling. I tried. God, I tried. But you just vanished. I stood there, hands slick with grease, heart pounding. "I didn't vanish, Clara. You told me to go." Her eyes glistened. "I told you to go because you wouldn't stop blaming yourself. After what happened, because it was my fault." I snapped, the words sharper than I intended. "Your brother trusted me with that car and he—" "Daniel." She stepped closer, her voice breaking. "He made his own choices. You tried to stop him. You did everything you could." The air went still. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But the guilt had lived in me too long. It had become part of who I was. I turned back to the engine, trying to steady my breathing. She watched quietly, her reflection shimmering on the chrome. Finally she whispered, "You know, he always said you were the only one who understood him." I paused, my hand on the wrench. He said you were like the brother he never had. My throat burned. When I finally finished, I straightened up. It's done. Try it now. She slipped into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the engine roared to life. Her smile lit up the dim garage. Still the best mechanic I know. I shrugged, trying not to let her see the emotion clawing at my chest. Just doing my job. She stepped out, opened her purse, and then hesitated. How much do I owe you? I shook my head. Forget it. Daniel, I said forget it. Our eyes met, and something unspoken passed between us. Forgiveness, maybe, or the ghost of what could have been. Then she did something I didn't expect. She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and placed it on the counter beside the keychain. If you ever want to stop running, she said softly. That's my number. Before I could respond, she was gone, tail lights fading into the dark street. I stood there for a long time, staring at the keychain and the note, my heart thudding like an old engine struggling to start. I finally unfolded the paper. Her handwriting, still the same delicate loops, spelled out not just her number, but a single line beneath it. He forgave you before he left. I think it's time you do too. Something broke inside me then. The kind of breaking that feels like release. I sank onto the stool, head in my hands, the smell of oil and gasoline mixing with the salt of my tears. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like running anymore. The next morning, I hung the keychain above my workbench, a small reminder that some engines can be fixed, even the ones inside us. And when the bell above the garage door jingled again, I didn't flinch. I looked up, ready this time, not to escape, but to start over.